So good morning. My name is Ashok Aletty, and I'm a solution architect in the VMware vCloud Air team. I don't know how many of you have heard about the vCloud Air. It's a public cloud offering from VMware. And essentially, we'll be, so along with me, I have my colleague here, Sanjay Amin, who is also a solution architect in the same team. So the topic today is, if you have implemented DevOps, continuous integration or continuous delivery on-premise, on VMware technology, running within your data center, within your enterprise. So essentially now you can use on-demand resources in a public cloud and have these fungible resources and essentially have implement DevOps or move some of the workloads into the cloud without changing any of the processes, without doing any migration effort. It's pretty straightforward. So essentially, you can take your workloads from on-prem to the cloud and use some of the resources on demand, and then have a pay-as-you-go model. So from a agenda perspective, so we'll be covering a brief overview of vCloud Air, and then we'll cover what we call as hybrid DevOps. This is essentially how you can not only do your DevOps processes, implement them on premise, but also move some of the workloads in the cloud, and essentially have this hybrid deployment with you're using resources both on-prem and on-cloud and as-needed basis, which we call as hybrid DevOps. And then finally, we'll cover some of the services that's coming, will be available in the vCloud Air, in our public cloud offering, starting this month, and then some of the roadmap items for the rest of the year. So just wanted a brief show of hands. How many of you are VMware customers? How many of you use VMware technology? Okay. How many of you have heard about vCloud Air? Okay, some of you. So I think it'll probably help with, so this brief intro will help. So as I said, it's about a year and a half, VMware launched the public cloud service. It's marketed as vCloud Air. So this is a public cloud service. This is owned and operated by VMware. So essentially, if you have been using VMware technology on-premise, what we have done is we have taken the same technology, vSphere, and essentially used that technology to build the cloud offering. And what is the advantage that you have? So any of the workloads that you have today running on-premise, on vSphere, you can take those workloads and move it, migrate them into the cloud, and it'll start. No changes required, no migration required. So this is the value proposition. So essentially, if you have need for resources, data center, and you're out of capacity in your IT systems, or you're out of capacity within your data center, and you need resources quickly, you can go to this into the cloud service, go sign up for an account, and you get an allotment of resources of compute, storage, networking, and start migrating your workloads or moving your workloads into the cloud and start using them, and then only pay for the resources and for the duration of the time that you've used those resources for. So you get this fungible resources, essentially, in a combination of on-prem and on-cloud, and you can start using these resources as needed. So essentially, what you can do is use the vCloud Air as an extension of your data center. And you can extend not just the compute and the storage resources, but also extend your data center network into our cloud, and I'll show you how that can be easily done. And the other advantage you have is common management. Just because now you're using a cloud resource, you don't have to log into our cloud portal and start using it. So we have something called the vCloud connector. It's a plugin into your vSphere product. So once you install the plugin, your cloud resources show up on your vCenter, which is a management portal for managing your on-premise vSphere deployments. So from an administrator point of view, you have now a pool of resources that are on-prem and in the cloud, but from a management perspective, they all you all have access to it from a single console. So you're not forced to go to the cloud and then a cloud portal and start using it. So essentially, you have a single pane of glass to manage the whole thing. And then you have a single company to call and get support call if you have any issues with on-prem VMware products or the cloud products. So essentially, you have one company backing it up. And the flexibility, I said, was the key value proposition. If you're an existing VMware customer using vSphere on-premise, and you have built a lot of templates, these are gold images for your mission-critical applications, or for testing, or development, or for any of your workloads, and you have put them in your vSphere catalog. Now, this same catalog, these gold templates, could be now available in the cloud, and you can start deploying them in the cloud and start using them. As I said, there is no migration effort. You want to go to any other cloud, essentially you have to go through a process of migration and follow the standards the other clouds enforce you to do it. What is the advantage? What is the advantage here is, once let's say you move some of your workloads from on-prem to cloud, and you say the cloud is not for me, and you want to bring those workloads back, you can easily bring it back. It is because essentially there's no migration effort involved, right? So you have this ability to move back and forth and how you want to use your resources between the on-prem and the cloud resources. And obviously you can, if you are starting brand new application development, you can start in the cloud using the cloud native architectures, the latest and greatest architectures, and we allow that as well. So you have the freedom of where you build it, where you move it, where you deploy it. And you can change your mind at any point in time and move back and forth. So how do you migrate your application? So if you have your, if you get an vCloud Air account, you can use, you can just upload your files, the templates or virtual appliances into the cloud catalog, and then start deploying those applications. Or you can use the OVF tool to upload this, the virtual appliances as well. Or, as I said, we provide a vCloud connector, which is a plugin into your vSphere. And essentially what this, as I said earlier, it gives you the ability to now manage your cloud resources from your vCenter management console. So it's a one pane of glass for managing both your on-prem and cloud resources and being able to move workloads back and forth between your cloud resources and on-prem. Now we will show you a demo of how an application template that is residing in your local data center can be easily migrated over or uploaded into vCloud Air by using the VCC connector. And it's very simple. So one of the key differentiator is the software-defined networking appliance that we make available in every cloud instance. So when you go and sign up for vCloud Air and you get in cloud instance, as part of that instance, you get what is known as the Edge Gateway, which is backed up by as an appliance. So it implements the software-defined networking. Now, this is one of the key differences. Now, once, for example, you probably have an application running within your enterprise, and an application could be a multi-tier application. Let's say you have a web tier, an application tier, and a database tier. And you can probably, these different tiers are sitting behind different firewalls, or could be sitting between different private networks, and with the web tier sitting in the DMZ, just exposed to the internet. So what this Edge Gateway allows you, essentially it allows you to replicate your network topology in on-prem in the cloud. So using this Edge Gateway, you can have up to 9 network segments fully, either everything is open to the network, or one acting as a DMZ and the rest acting as private networks, completely isolated from the network. So it is, you can pretty much replicate your on-prem network deployment or topology in the cloud. And then you can see, in this example, we have shown 4 different network segments with the routed network, which is the default. Anytime you get an instance, cloud instance, you always have a routed network topology, which acts like the DMZ. So any VM placed in the routed network is visible to the internet. And all the other network segments can get completely isolated and completely protected from the internet traffic. And then in addition, the edge gateway gives you all those capabilities that listed on the right. It not only provides you the routing capabilities, but also it has a built-in firewall. It has a built-in network address translation capabilities. It does the load balancing across the VM sitting in your routed network. It's a built-in VPN server. So, and then it also has a DHCP server available in it. So what this means is you don't have to buy these additional capabilities as individual services. It is all given to you. It's available. So essentially, all these capabilities generally you would buy separately from other cloud providers. It's made available in this edge gateway. And then obviously, if you have own choice of your own providers, network providers, we do support third-party providers such as F5, RSA, Cisco as well. So if they have you can deploy their software appliance and then start using those as well. So this is, I believe, it's a true differentiator that is available to every instance. Then how do you, now the path to the hybrid cloud. There are two ways you can subscribe and buy this cloud. One is on the subscription model, the other one is the on-demand. The subscription is you go and buy a pool of resources, pool of compute, pool of storage, and then essentially bandwidth. And then you can use it for carve it out between your different workloads. So this is mainly useful if you have a predictable cost and budget for your project. And then essentially you can use this as a common pool and carve it out different groups. And then you know exactly how much it's going to cost you on a monthly basis. But if you don't know exactly how much you're going to use, but you need this on-demand resource, then you can essentially sign up for on-demand and then pay as you go. And this provides you the pay-as-you-go model, and we charge you only for the resources that you have consumed and for the duration of the consumption. So, and it is done on an hourly. The metering is done on an hourly basis. So these are the two options available to you. And then this is the last slide here. Essentially, we have, as I said, we came into this pretty late, about a year and a half, but we have been, trying to catch up and growing very fast. So we have 7 data centers in US, 2 in Europe, and 2 in Asia currently, and we are growing our footprint rapidly here. And then in US, we also have 2 government data centers with the FedRAMP certification. All right, hybrid DevOps. Now to the topic of this conference, and we will show you how we can make this, how we enable this in our cloud. So let's say, for example, you have set up a continuous integration or continuous delivery process on-prem. And you have set up, you're using Perforce for your source code management, and you're using Jenkins for your continuous integration. And you've set up a bunch of tests and different environments for the different use cases. Now you need to add additional test capabilities, or you need to free up, as an IT person, you need to free up some resources, or you need some additional resources that you need for your DevOps operation. So essentially what you do is go and sign up for the on-demand cloud. And then, as I said, you set up this vCloud connector, which sets up this direct path from your on-prem to the cloud. And as part of that, it also sets up the catalog sync. This is what I said. In any templates that you have on-prem and that is sitting in your on-prem catalog, gets synced automatically to the cloud by our software. So essentially, all the templates now are suddenly available in the cloud. You can start deploying them in the cloud and start using it. So at this point, I'm going to give it over to Sanjay, and he'll show you how this is, made possible, and he'll show you, in real time, this sync process.
Thank you, Ashok. So a couple of key points. I think as Ashok mentioned, that when you actually extending your resources from on-premise to public cloud, you really have to have a capability so that you can manage both on-premise as well as your cloud from the single pane of glass. So you basically you should have a capability to start and stop the VMs, regardless whether on the on-premise or onto the cloud. And also, there has to be a mechanism where you can basically seamlessly take the resources from your on-premise data center to cloud data centers and vice versa. So let me quickly show you how we achieve that, that thing. So what you're looking at is what we call vSphere client GUI. I think if you, most of your IT operations, they're very, very familiar with this GUI. I mean, this is the tool they use to manage on-premise resources. So if I go to VMs and templates, so these are yeah. So these are all the resources which are running on my on-premise data center. So you can see that a bunch of VMs are up and running, and then we have a vCloud connector nodes, vCloud connector server, and the vCenter servers. So and then you obviously with this tool, your IT administrator has a capability to manage the resources, start it, shut it, delete it, all that stuff, right? So now, at the same time, if you notice here, I have a folder called templates, and there are a bunch of templates which are sitting here, right? So as Ashok mentioned, that when you actually extend your resources to vCloud Air, you have to have a mechanism to either take those VMs running onto on-premise, or those templates seamlessly basically show up on the catalog onto the vCloud Air. So when vCloud connector gets configured, that basically shows up as a plugin, on your vSphere client. So your IT administrator basically is using the same tool which is familiar in managing on-premise data center. So when you actually click on that plugin, you can see now there are a bunch of data center which are popping up. So the first one is the one which is my on-premise data center, the one which I was just showing you. And over here, you'll be able to see all the VMs which are running on on-premise. And here, so these are all the VMs I just showed you through my vSphere client. They're running and they're basically popping up here. So now, through this vCloud connector plugin, I can actually start and stop the VMs if I need to directly from here through my action pane, right? So power on, power off. Now, at the same time, if you notice that I have a bunch of other cloud resources which are also showing up here. So this is now all my cloud, whichever cloud resources I have access to, they are showing up here. So now if I look at and if I edit it, so this is my public URL for my vCloud Air resources. So, and if you look at the template directory which I showed you on-premise, there is a slight blue up arrow. What that indicates that I'm actually publishing this template. So whatever cloud resources they really want to subscribe to these templates, they can subscribe to it, and then the syncing operation will automatically happen, and all the catalogs, all the templates which are sitting into this particular template folder will automatically show up on my vCloud Air catalogs. So in this particular case, if you look at, I have like 3 templates which are sitting on my on-premise catalog, and they are basically, since I have published this template directory, any of the cloud resource can basically subscribe to it. So in this particular case, I basically have subscribed those templates to one of my cloud resources. And you can see that my Deloitte Cert 28 vCloud Air data center is basically subscribed to sync template, right? So now, the minute I create any templates, let me create a simple template from one of the machine. So I can create a template here, clone to template. I'm going to put it into this template directory. This is my Oracle 7. And as you can see that the templating process has started now, and once the templating process finishes, the syncing process will automatically start, and it will basically start syncing this catalog into my vCloud Air. So before the session, I actually kicked off one process, and you may be able to see that this process is running, and it is actually syncing the templates from my on-premise data center to my vCloud Air catalog. So this is completely seamless. You just create a template, and then the syncing operation, every couple of hours, it will basically check, or you can configure the time if you want to basically sync every 1 hour. But since most of the time the templates are really big in size, you really want to give a reasonable good chunk of a Windows. But if you, in any case, if you really want to sync up right away, you can also, there is a button so that you can, as soon as the templating process is finished, you can sync it right away. So the key here, the key takeaway, as you stretch your data center from the on-premise to public, I think you really have no burden on managing all your resources and migrating those resources. The tool VMware provides will automatically take care of it.
Thanks, Ajay. So as he showed here, so in most cases, the IT ops or the admin would have created the templates and put them in the catalog on-prem. So, and as soon as you set up the vCloud connector plugin, which connects the on-prem data center into the cloud resources, the sync automatically starts. So the sync, essentially all the templates now are available in the cloud. So in this particular case, let's say now, because as I said, there was a requirement to add additional resources for testing. And what the admin did was created an account, set up the vCloud connector, and all the templates are available. Now they can install, let's say, a chef server to stand up the different environments and use the templates to essentially use the templates that are sitting in the cloud catalog to deploy these environments and run some of the tests in parallel. So essentially, you have moved the testing, in this particular case, testing to the cloud, and you're still doing user acceptance, staging, and prod on-prem. So you're now using a mix of both the resources on-prem and on-cloud. And for the cloud usage, obviously, you're using only for the duration that you are signed up for those resources. So you have this set of fungible resources at your disposal. Now, essentially, now if you want to take a step further, we do support, obviously, in the right-hand side, what you're seeing is we support most of the common DevOps tools in vCloud, vCloud Air. Pretty much anything that runs on-prem runs without any change in the vCloud Air. In this case, we have Chef running, and Chef has a knife plugin available for vCloud Air. Git Enterprise runs on vCloud Air. So if you want to move completely into the cloud and get away from Perforce, that's an option as well. So you can move to Git Enterprise, or you can still continue to access the source code sitting on-prem. And then finally, if you want to move the continuous integration to the cloud, we have worked with CloudBees and certified the Jenkins Enterprise version in the cloud, so you can move your continuous integration process into the cloud as well. So this is what we mean by hybrid DevOps. Gives you the ability to now move some of those DevOps-centric processes back and forth between on-prem and in the cloud. So you have a choice. You can move back and forth. And then because staging and production is happening on-prem, you want to set up Artifactory, and then gives you set up the Artifactory, the replication, so you have the binaries available both on-prem and in the cloud. And even this setting up of this binary replication using Artifactory is very simple through the vCloud Connector plugin, because there is already a secure channel set up between on-prem and on-cloud. So it is setting up this binary replication is very, very simple with vCloud Air. And then finally, now you can move user acceptance test to the cloud, and then start deploying additional resources testing. So this gives you an idea of how you can use the resources back and forth. So that's essentially what we mean by hybrid DevOps, and giving you the power and the ability to move workloads back and forth. So what are we doing on vCloud Air? I gave you some examples of the tools that are available in vCloud Air. Cloud-based, Jenkins Enterprise is certified. BlazeMeter, that they have a booth here. Their product, the BlazeMeter product, is certified as well. So we are working with many partners. So our idea is to provide a best-of-breed product and make it available on vCloud Air. So you have a choice of all the products that you want to use within your DevOps ecosystem. And then essentially we want to, it will be managed from an orchestration CD perspective. We want to support 2 key use cases, and essentially centered around Jenkins and the Jenkins workflow. And then the other one is we want to have support for vRealize code stream. vRealize code stream is another continuous delivery tool from VMware itself. So this is something fairly new. It was released about 6 months ago. And it essentially does release automation and continuous delivery delivery process. So essentially, you can orchestrate the DevOps processes through either Jenkins and Jenkins workflow or vRealize code stream, and we want to make it all available in the cloud. And then why DevOps? So essentially, it's hybrid. So as I said, it gives you the ability to move back and forth. And you can do it on-prem, in the cloud, or move back and forth. And it's open. Essentially, you have a broad selection of tools that are available. Anything that runs on-prem is available in the cloud as well. You can run it. No change required, as I said. And you can, essentially what it enables is the leverages the existing investments, VMware technologies, and other tools that you have already done on-prem. Now you can leverage them in the cloud. And you can bring your, in the vCloud Air perspective, you can bring your own licenses. Or, as I said, we are working with a bunch of partners to make their products available as a service in vCloud Air. So you can essentially consume them as services as well. And then it's consistency. So the catalog sync is one example of consistency because the gold templates that you have created, they're available in the cloud now without any effort. And then you're using the common runtime across both on-prem and on cloud. So briefly on the services that are available and coming soon on vCloud Air. So today, right now, these are the partners and the products that are available. CloudBees, essentially we are working with them. So we have Jenkins Enterprise running on vCloud Air, and then essentially you can start using it for all your build jobs. And then Chef has built a knife plugin, as I said, for vCloud Air, so that's available. vRealize code streams, so this is a VMware product for continuous delivery and release automation. I have one more slide on it, so I'll go into a little bit more detail on that. And then Tosca. Tosca is, this is an application blueprint standard that we are using for a way to define your multi-tier applications, a standard way of defining your application topology and environment, and then being able to deploy them in vCloud Air. And then we support Bitnami. So Bitnami, if you go to Bitnami, so vCloud Air is a destination. So you can have one-click deployment of most common open source tools and deploy them in vCloud Air. So this is on vRealize code stream. So this is, as I said, this is a product from the VMware management tool team, and it essentially enables release automation and then as well as continuous delivery. So you heard the pitch on Jenkins workflow and continuous delivery, and essentially we enable that. So it uses Jenkins for continuous integration, and then once the continuous integration does the build and it puts the binary artifacts into a repository. In our case, it is Artifactory, and Artifactory is included in the product, so that is not something that you need to buy. It triggers a pipeline. So from a code stream, there are 3 major things the code stream enables. It helps you create pipelines. You can have multiple pipelines for different releases of the same product, or you can manage multiple pipelines for different product releases as well. And then, and in each of the pipeline, you can have different stages, and then have governance. How do you proceed from one stage to the next stage? And then it does artifact management because Artifactory is included. You can have complete governance over the binary artifacts that are going to be used within your release. And then finally, there is troubleshooting and dashboard support. So you can have at any point, you have an overall view of all the pipelines and what is happening within each of the pipelines at each of the stages, and then have complete visibility into these things, and you can always click and get more detail in each of the stages. And the key thing is, it's very visual. Difference between this one and workflow, this is very visual. It's a UI based. We have a config UI to set up the pipeline, set up the stages, and set up the individual tasks. And it is integrated very well with the VMware management tools. And then you can use it to, you can deploy them on-prem or in the cloud, and you can use it to run a hybrid process. So you can control some of the stages, some of the activities that is happening on-prem, and the other activities could be happening in the cloud, and you can use it to control both these activities from a single deployment, either on-prem or in the cloud. And then it integrates with all the common tools that you're already using within your DevOps process. Most commonly used tools out there, Chef, Puppet, Docker. It supports both VMs as well as container processes and deployment. And this is just another brief. I think if you can see this, maybe the font is maybe not be. Can everybody see it from the back side? The font, okay. So this gives you a highlighted view of one of the pipeline. So you have complete end-to-end visibility of the pipeline, the different stages in the pipeline, and the artifacts that is using at each of these stages. And then essentially, you can look at the status of each of the stages. And then the status essentially allows you to govern how the pipeline moves from stage to stage. So you can have some gating rules set up, saying, only if it passes that rule, then go to the next stage. It could be one of the gating rules could be, if you're running Selenium tests, you can say if the test results is above 95%, then go to the next stage. Otherwise, stop. Somebody has to come in and take a manual action. So you have a lot of ability to set up these rules and then getting rules and then governance process to help you define your stuff. The other key capability is you can select two stages and do comparison. So you can look at what is the difference between those stages. So it helps you in debugging and troubleshooting as well. All right, so quickly going to the next one. So automate application deployments. So one of the common problem in DevOps, setting up environments. So today you probably are using, could be using Chef, Puppet, or you could be using some proprietary way of doing things. Or VMware has its own technology called AppD, Application Director. It's a separate application blueprint technology. Amazon has their own proprietary cloud formation technology, which is proprietary. OpenStack has had their own proprietary technology, but recently have adopted Tosca. So essentially, what we decided was we needed a standard-based way of defining application environments and topology, and we have also decided to standardize on Tosca. So Tosca is the OSS standard. So the good thing is, if you define an application topology and environment using Tosca, you can deploy it onto any cloud. It is cloud neutral. So this is only you build it once and you can deploy it to any of the clouds. So we do support that, and that will be the service to deploy a Tosca blueprint will be available next month. So that'll be something that we can start using. So if you have Tosca blueprints, you can deploy it onto vCloud Air. And we are also building that support. Actually, there is already a plugin for vSphere, so you can use Tosca Blueprint to be, and deploy them onto vSphere, your on-prem cloud. All right. So what else is coming? So we will be offering continuous integration as a service, and this is actually coming through a partner. So it will be a managed service. So what we have taken is the most common tools that is used within a continuous integration process, such as Jenkins, definitely for builds, and then Artifactory for binary repository. And then we have integrated with, from a source code point of view, we have integrated with GitHub, Subversion, and Perforce. And then we have also included JMeter and Selenium testing frameworks. And then for environments support, we have added Chef, Puppet, and the last logo that you see is our score, which is our application blueprint, Tosca-based application blueprint service. So all these services will be available. So as a user, you come in and you say, I want a continuous integration environment, and we will deploy all these tools and give you an instance of all this pre-integrated, pre-configured, ready to go. So you just point it to the project in GitHub or any other source code, and then you can start using them for continuous integration. So this is a brief, this is a recorded demo I have of how do you, from a user experience point of view, what will you see when you come in and sign up for this service? So this is the launching page. You come in and say you want a continuous integration environment, and then you give it a name, and then the key pair from a secure perspective. And these are some of the tools that are included in the continuous integration environment today. There is a continuous integration tools, which is obviously Jenkins and Artifactory, Chef, and JMeter. And then obviously we're going to add a few more tools here for code review and code coverage perspective. So this we're going to make it much more elaborate here. So once you select it, you say create an environment. It has created an environment in vCloud Air. And you can go to the vCloud Air console and look at the VMs that have been deployed. So in this case, we deployed the 4 tools. And you can see the 4 tools are deployed and the resources that have been allocated to it. And then you can also now access the individual consoles of each of these tools from within the managed services. And then you can look at the status of all the running instances within that environment and then have complete control over the life cycle. You can start, stop, delete. Essentially, since it's a managed services, you don't have to, worry about its life cycle. So anything, if there's a security patch or any other upgrade that is required, that is something will be done by the partner. And then you can get, as you said, you can look at monitor the health, look at the different usage metrics, how each of these tools and how much resources are they consuming. So essentially, you get a lot more information on the whole CI environment, and you have complete control of these things, how you use it. So the use cases, you don't have to worry about setting it up, installing it, configuring it, maintaining it. This is all done by the provider, the service provider. So you just start using it. So you can start using it, and we give you a sample project that takes you all the way from building to deployment. So we show you how you can set up both continuous integration as well as you can do production deployment using this set of tools. All right, finally, last 2 slides. And this is something new stuff that you're working with CloudBees. So we are going to integrate with their Jenkins operations console. We will make it available in the second half of this year. So this is essentially their management tool, gives you a single pane of glass for managing multiple Jenkins enterprises. So with this, you can now have build and test environments essentially in the vCloud Air and manage all those different instances from a single console from Jenkins Operations Center. So this could be, each of the Jenkins master could be used by different teams, but as one admin can now have complete console. But the key here is Jenkins Operations Center has the concept of a global resource pool. So and the global resource pool is always set up in the cloud. So what this means is when a team is using one of the Jenkins masters for their local builds, and if they run out of resources, you can start using the resources in the global machine pool. So this is a common pool that is available across multiple masters. And so if you run out of resources, you go to the master pool. So this is coming in the second half. The second one is cloud bursting. So in this case, many of you have some CI, let's say CI running on-prem, different teams using CI. And now, as I said, you can install Jenkins Operations Console in the cloud or on-prem, but the global machine pool sits in the cloud. And if you think of a team that is running on-prem, on the left-hand side, and they're using the local machine pool for their build jobs, and they run out of resources, now that job can now be pushed to the cloud. Now, essentially, because we have set up the vCloud connector, all the templates are available, and you can launch that job in the machine pool in the cloud, and you can now start using the cloud, the global resource pool for your build jobs. So again, all this is coming in the second half, so a lot of interesting things in the DevOps area. And we'll be coming up with a continuous delivery as a service as well, using both Jenkins and vCloud's vRealize code stream in the second half as well. All right, so that was it, and we have a few minutes for questions. And for the questions, if you have questions, can you please step onto the mic? And
this slide, right? Here, I'm not seeing where you're using the VMware product. Is it behind the scenes? Like you have Chef, Puppet there?
So VMware product, this is running in the cloud. So this is a service offered by a partner. Okay. Continuous integration as a service running in vCloud Air. So vCloud Air is a VMware product, right? So this is their value-added services.
No, my question is, when you're doing CD, right, when you're doing your deployments, so the first step is you need to have an environment, right? So in this workflow,
I see.
How is the environment built out? Say, even before provisioning a server, right? You need to provision a server, even before you bring in Puppet.
Correct. So, as part of the setting up this environment, in this example I showed you in the demo, we have set up the Chef server, stood up this Chef server, or it could be the Puppet server. And then essentially you will use Chef or Puppet to stand up your application environment for either doing the build or using your testing, unit test or a functional test or any other test. So you will use Chef, so let's say Chef recipes.
I got that part. Even before Chef or Puppet comes into play, you need to spin up your VM, right, for your application environment.
That is done through Chef and Puppet. So Chef, as a part of the recipe, the first step would be spin up VMs. Let's say it's a multi-tier application. You have web server, app server, and a database server. So the first thing it will do is it will use the Knife plugin, the Chef plugin, to create 3 VMs. And then it will call the recipe to install the stack, the database stack, or whatever the database it's using, whatever the app server and the web server. And then the next step would be the configuration of that environment. So it's all done, in this particular example, it's all done through the Chef or Puppet completely. So
you're not using the blueprinting capability.
Correct. So as the next release, so if a customer already has a Tosca blueprint, they can trigger that blueprint from Chef or Puppet. So instead of Chef, the Chef doing the individual instantiation of the VMs, the first step it does is launch this blueprint. Okay. As part of this blueprint, it will stand up the complete environment, and then the only step that you would do is use Chef to configure the individual.
So my question is on that. So we have within our company blueprints already available, right?
So what technology do you guys use?
VMware.
Which blueprint? AppD?
AppD.
Okay.
AppD. So if we have a blueprint available, how do you kind of invoke through Jenkins? Is there any plugin?
So the best thing the best way to do it is through Chef or Puppet. Okay. Because then you write a script and then you launch that blueprint through that script.
So Jenkins will call Correct. The Chef recipe or a Puppet file, and then that will call the blueprint.
Yeah, because once you do it that way, then you have much more flexibility of using it anywhere, right?
But even if you are using Puppet, right, you need, does AppD have an API?
AppD has an API. So if you're using AppD, you essentially, in this particular case today, you would need to have installed some of the AppD required files. and services in order to deploy it. So if you have AppD blueprints, the best way is to use the CodeStream product from VMware, because that has built-in integration into AppD. You can easily call AppD blueprint deployment from within a stage.
Yeah. So what we are interested in is how can I call the blueprint from Jenkins?
Oh, directly from Jenkins.
Directly from Jenkins.
Okay. So we can take that offline.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other question? All right. Thank you.